Hello. You have been sent this link and directed to this video because you were in a comment section. You made a piss-weak argument that is already addressed in the very same comment section, and you were discovered doing so by someone who can't be bothered having that argument again. That or you have been assessed for entertainment value and have only scored negative equity. Do not pass go. Do not collect 200 subscribers. Alright, let's go with it. Len Tackloff writes, "Wow, a beta male with a bottle of wine, a hose, a hat, and a bowl of word salad. Carlin was brilliant. You are not. He was an original. Just because you can't handle his speaking about you from the grave. Comedy is dead today. Lenny Bruce, Dick Gregory, Richard Pryor, and it ended with Carlin. Comedy was used up. I don't know what you are trying to do. Commentary? Certainly not comedy. That was my generation, and you have missed out on so much. People like you will never understand. You are the loser. I feel sorry for you and your millennials." Well, you sound like a happy camper. I can see the good-spirited humour of the golden age has really rubbed off on you. Another happy liberal, I see. Okay, so you don't like liberals. Tell me more about George Carlin and how much you like him. Boy, does he trigger you. And alas, I have a reaction speed of 11 years. I just can't stop myself. Your anger is hilarious and typical. Why, thank you. So is yours. It's almost worth its own highlight video, smiley face. You are yelling at George. Hint, he's dead. I see. You can't react to dead people. It makes no sense. Good point. He is laughing at you from the grave. I can't react to dead people, but dead people can react to me. Boy, am I getting schooled. Do you realize he created his humor himself? Holy shit, really? All by himself? Well, shit and crikey, let's pin it to the fucking fridge. Originality and brilliance. I miss him greatly. No one has ever done something like this before. Except Lenny Bruce, Dick Gregory, and Richard Pryor. You're doing really well, Len. I guess you had to be there, being in Vietnam, coming back. I don't think you could ever understand the importance of his work. Thanks, Nathan Phillips. I totally respect you now. You should study the history of comedy. Start with Bob and Ray. Oh crap, I started with Aristophanes. My bad. School me some more, Professor. No response as of yet from Len Tackloff. Honey, you ain't Carlin. Thanks, smiley face. Random McCum, I agree a lot with what you say, but when you get this upset at George Carlin for hating men, the same guy who has shit on feminists just as much, you look like just as fragile as the genuine man-haters you fight against. Did you see the second video I did, where he talks about women? Shitting on feminists is naught but a breeze of sweet nothings if you then go on to sincerely spread the very same garbage about harassment and the wage gap. All it illustrates to me is a raving kind of centrist who's just as bad as any feminist, yet still thinks he's better than them. Which frankly is even worse. Do Chubby Brown next. Seeing as you are trying to compare identity politics to humor. Carlin's routine here was entirely an exercise in gender identity politics, and a completely backward-ass approach to it at that. If Chubby Brown did this routine, I would be yelling at him instead, but he didn't, and he wouldn't, because he's not a pretentious fart sniffer. It's still just humor, or at worst, opinion. Nothing to get that bent out of shape about, especially as it's 10 years old coming from a 71-year-old dead man. Hit the ones that are talking shit these days to stay relevant. I am bent into shape, friend. If I want angry, I do angry. You don't get to tell me what my shape is or how to bend it. And next time I feel like criticizing Karl Marx's ideas, I will remember to forget what you just said. I suggest you do the same. Last time I checked, Marx wasn't a comedian telling daft jokes. I do apologize, though, for trying to tell you your shape, as I greatly appreciate your content, and it's not my place to change it. Last time I checked, Marxism itself is one big daft joke. Lol. Question. Can I criticize Marxist comedians for their Marxist jokes? 'Cause that's pretty much what I did. I never really saw Carlin as a comic, though rewatching your videos, now I get to a point. I guess I was having a knee-jerk reaction to what I perceived as an attack on comedy, which these days is all too often. I always saw him as an anti-PC campaigner just like yourself, but it is years since I watched any of this stuff, so was seeing it through rose-tinted spectacles Thanks for taking the time to clarify your point. My pleasure. You may choose your favourite puppet if you like. No response as of yet. So you get the turtle.
You have overstepped your boundaries. I'm a huge fan of your content, but speaking ill of the dead and a celebrated comic is sad. He doesn't speak of current year because he died in a time that didn't have the backwards bullshit we do now. If he were alive today, he probably would have just had an aneurysm over the new speaking dumb shit that has gone on over the past 3 years.
Kurt Cobain died 14 years earlier, and I showed a photograph of his dead body 3 times, each time dubbed with comedy music. Funny, I can't seem to find the similar comment that you must have left on that video. Oh wait, you don't like Kurt Cobain. No harm done.
Kurt Cobain was an overrated heroin addict, much like Jim Morrison is a drunk. George spent his life entertaining people with reality, much like Doug Stanhope. And while criticism to anyone is acceptable, be real about your criticism.
Entertaining people with reality? Reality! Would you care to take another listen to the source material and tell me where the reality was? Because all I heard was lies and nonsense. By the way, you're dismissing 2 dead men's works on the grounds that they were victims of chemical addiction. That is far, far more sad than anything I've said about Carlin's lucid and considered opinions. If this was ever about principles, you just dropped all of yours on the floor.
Alright, I was out of line with that, but I never respected either of them as artists. Also, reality was probably the wrong word. I'm very familiar with the source material, and I know he was never comparing the sexes like you try to argue. He was pointing out the backwards thinking of men that have been passed down through the ages. He himself had to live through that time, but like I said before, things are much different now, and I believe that if he were alive now, his opinion would be different.
If what I'm hearing is true, he grew up with a single mother and an abusive father. In all likelihood, he was destined to be this way till the bitter end. Speculations aside, all I did was mock someone you respect. And if you're going to let me get away with much more flippant mockery, just because it was against someone you don't respect, then thanks for filling me in on who you respect and who you don't. But I'm afraid that's all you've achieved.
Yes, I do respect him, as I respect you also. I didn't say I agree with everything he says, but I do try and understand why those opinions are formed.
Fair enough. I appreciate your cordiality. Which puppet would you like to be?
Yeah, I appreciate it too, man. I apologise for coming in hot like that. Your choice.
Nice one. I was worried everyone was going to pick the codger. Or maybe this dude.
You don't realize he's a comedian, right?
So am I. Now what?
The point being, you're losing your shit over a piece. You may find it a particularly unfunny piece of work, fair enough. But to attack the man post-mortem on views that may very well not be his own is taking things a bit far, no?
Argument 1, he's a comedian. Rebuttal 1, so am I. Argument 2, no admission of previous defeat. You're losing your shit over a piece. Let me go ahead and surprise you with rebuttal 2. He lost his shit over a bitch. And I'm just performatively reacting with high energy and comedy rage. Like a comedian does. What's this you have? Argument 3, he's dead. Rebuttal 3, well shit, son, you got me. By the way, Yuri Andropov told me the Berlin Wall is still up. You better not be calling a dead man wrong. That will be taking things a bit far, no?
Have it your way, Doc. Enjoy your perpetual outrage.
Enjoy your sue. I hope one day you get paid for it like I do.
True colours and all that. I never pegged you for being such a petty man. Stay classy, Doc.
Whatever you do, don't get outraged like I am. It would be so unlike you.
You do know he's dead, right? Fucking idiot.
Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to point out that being dead doesn't make your arguments infallible. You're then going to ignore your failure and pretend what you meant to say was, you do know he's a comedian, right? Fucking idiot. Then I'm going to point out that being a comedian doesn't make your arguments infallible either. You're then going to ignore your failure and pretend what you meant to say was, you're getting angry and worked up over nothing. Then I'm going to say, you mean like a comedian? You're then going to ignore your failure and simply skulk away pretending you didn't just make a mewling brat of yourself in public. There, I saved you all the effort. Toodle pip. Fucking idiot.
No, I am not going to do any of the stuff you described. I will just tell you how fucking stupid you are, talking shit to and about a dead man that cannot defend or come back to you with any arguments. This is such a cheap kind of entertainment on the behalf of a dead person. So yeah, but I guess you got fans that like that kind of meaningless, lame stuff.
Cool story, bro. So I don't want to hear any more shit about Hitler, okay? The man's dead. Let him rest in peace. Here's what's going to happen next. You're going to have the predictable knee-jerk reaction of, are you comparing George Carlin with Hitler? This is because you don't actually give a shit or believe what you're saying. You simply favoritize George Carlin, and you can't think of a legitimate way to defend his ideas. So you just pretend to have a moral principle about respecting the dead, even though you cannot stick to it for half a fathom of your wasted life. The only fraction of a principle you will ever hold to is everyone needs respect my favourite things. Because, to repeat, you are nothing but a mewling brat. So then, you're going to try and think of another argument, but inevitably come up with nothing, and default back to simply repeating your first and only argument, despite its already comprehensive refutation. Okay, go for it. Make us proud. No response. As of yet. I love the smell of prediction fruition in the morning. But Stephen Olivo writes,
Dude, you gotta chill the fuck out! I get that he called you a fucking idiot, but you proceeded to prove him correct by having an entire argument with yourself while claiming to know their mind.
Do you see how I'm reading out in an angry voice? Do you see what I'm doing there?
What in the actual fuck? Did changing the moniker to NPC give people license to act like an SJW?
Genius, isn't it? Kid, I'm making you sound angry through the cunning use of my imagination. I read your unemoted graphic text, and I just plain ass make believe that you're writing them in an angry tone. And then I'll have a sound argument to make along the lines of, you're angry, so you're wrong. Oh, I'm so fucking clever. I must have learned it from George Carlin, because he's so clever too. Stephen Olivo, I am chilled out. That's why I'm playing with predictions rather than getting bogged down in a repetitive argument. What's that? No, I'm not chilled out. Well, damn. Good job claiming to know my mind, son. By your own logic, what would that make you? Spoiler, the answer is a fucking idiot. I award you no points. May God have mercy on your soul.
You're doing this on purpose, are you? Yeah. Georgie here is the original troll, you see. He even got arrested for it back in the day.
I'll bear that in mind for next time I hear someone claiming that men don't like women. It must be a joke. No one actually believes that, right? Those gender studies departments are truly the world's funniest trolls.
Since when is Georgie a gender studies teacher? Since I can't take the material seriously, I cannot get mad. But sure, if this is the type of stuff they seriously teach in gender studies, then we're all fucking fucked.